over towards the launch pad there, and you'll be able to see the rocket going up. And it is going due east, by the way, going over the Atlantic Ocean, due east. It's going to end up going around the planet, but then it'll eventually be positioned over an area over Australia. And this whole satellite today is kind of shrouded in a little secrecy, too. The published information is that it is going to be hooking up with the Starlink system that Spacex has, and this satellite will provide internet system for the entire continent of Australia. Right now they've only got about a 60% coverage over Australia. This will give them 100%. So, but there's also possibly a tie-in with a military aspect to this particular launch. They're calling it Optus X. No explanation what the X is for, but they're also referring to this launch as TD7. Anyway, hopefully it'll go and you'll be able to see a cool rocket launch, but there's all kinds of things going on. What they're doing is giving you a countdown timeline right here about what's going to happen. About 35 minutes or so before the launch, they're going to load the fuel. They have not put the fuel in the rocket just yet, but coming up at about the 35-minute mark before the launch, then they'll load the fuel. It's refined kerosene and liquid oxygen that goes in the main tanks. It's a two-part rocket. The big bottom part is called the core stage. 9 Merlin engines at the bottom there, and they burn that refined kerosene and liquid oxygen. So they pump that into the rocket within the last 35 minutes or so before it goes, and then they disconnect. You see the upper part of the rocket continue going, carrying the satellite. The bottom part disconnects, and you'll see all that on the screen. It'll go to a split screen when that happens. But they're giving you some countdown information right there after the launch. T-7, yeah. It'll take you can read that. You can see it goes right up to the launch time. So we're still on track here. It looks like about 45 minutes or so before the actual liftoff. And it's going due east. It's got to go due east. It's going to go basically at an angle to the equator, and eventually it'll wind up in a position in a big, long, elongated orbit called a geostationary orbit, and it'll be over the continent of Australia. That's the purpose of the launch, to increase internet and data availability in the internet system over Australia. So there you go. That's what's going to happen. Now, a couple other quick things. When the rocket launches, you'll be able to see the big 9 engines light up, and it's going to climb up out of there off to the northeast, pad 39A. It's going to climb up. You'll see it. And it's going to go east, okay? Now, within about 10 or 15 seconds after the rocket, where you can see it, then you're going to feel it, okay? The sound will come here, and it's going to be a deep rumble, and it is dramatic, okay? So it won't hurt you. It's, you know, you're far enough away. You're about 7.5 miles away from the launch pad, and it is moving away, heading towards the east, but the sound will come here, and it's a building rumble. And if you have children with you or anybody that you need to talk to them about that, prepare them for that rumble. Again, it won't hurt you, but it is a dramatic thing, and that's all part of the launch process. That's part of being here, to see this cool stuff in person. By the way, who's never seen a rocket launch before? Yep, there you go. I always ask that question before the launch, and it's always basically over half the people. Anyway, so hopefully it'll go. Now, if they get the approval for launch, for fueling the rocket, that will begin here within about 10, 12 minutes. And when they start loading the fuel in there, you're going to see some venting coming off the rocket, because they use liquid oxygen as the oxidizer to burn the kerosene. Liquid oxygen is like really cold. It's 298 degrees below zero. They make it even colder, though, for this rocket. They lower the temperature to 340 degrees below zero. So you got warm Florida air, you got this super chilled liquid oxygen, and it's going to vent off the rocket. All right, as I move through the crowd, or anybody at all, if you have a question, flag me down, ask me whatever you'd like to know. What you're looking at is the fueling process. See the smoke coming off the rocket there? That's some of the liquid oxygen that's warming up a bit. So that's a good sign. But they do load the fuel, as I said, about 35 minutes prior to the launch. And what you're looking at is the venting process of the liquid oxygen. But NASA, you know, after our last shuttle went up, July 2011, we leased Pad A to Spacex. We still own it, but they got a lease on the pad for now. So that's where the rocket is today, Falcon 9 rocket. Just at the end of the launch today. So I'm going to pass out the test papers, okay? No test, no test. Under 2 minutes, okay. It's going, there it goes. Falcon 9 liftoff. Optus X on its way. Now it'll pop into the clouds, but okay. They can launch in okay weather. It doesn't have to be perfect weather, and that's what just happened. There you go. You get a little peek here. And here comes the sound. The rumble from the launch pad and the engines. Don't worry, this is, it's dramatic, but it's not going to hurt you. It's going to the east, so it's going kind of up and over to the east. There you go, there's another quick view there. And that steam coming off the engine there, the vapor trail is normal. It gets to about that altitude, it interacts, the heat of the engines interacts with the atmosphere. Okay, now, if you look at the screen, you may see it some more, but if you look there, you'll see the rocket climbing away. There's another angle there. But coming up at, you see at the bottom over there, it says T plus 1 minute, 30 seconds. Okay, at 2.5 minutes, then 1 minute from now, the whole bottom part will disconnect from the upper part. The 9 Merlin engines will shut down, and then it'll come off. Yeah, pretty cool. But I'm telling you, if you wait a couple of minutes, you'll see the engine shut down, and the whole screen will split, and on the left side of the screen you'll get this picture, and on the right side of the screen is the single Merlin engine that turns on and carries the rest of the rocket. 9 Merlin engines. That thing generates 1.7 million pounds of thrust. The rocket weighs 1.2 million pounds, so you gotta have more thrust than the weight. We're getting to what they call MECO, main engine cutoff, and here you watch it right here. There's cameras in the rocket. Look at that. There it goes.
Did you get a video of that?
It's kind of jostling the cameras around there a little bit. Now there you go, cameras on the rocket. Now it's going to start burning back. It put these things out called grid fins. You see those things that are coming up now? They're called grid fins. They'll help guide the rocket back down to the barge in the ocean. Now the three center engines will do the burn backs to slow it down, decelerate, and basically get it right on the barge. Now what they're going to do also is on the right side of the screen, you'll see the upper stage engine turn on, and that is going to keep the rocket, the upper part of the rocket, going. There's some debris over there by the left grid fin. See some of that debris up there? It's probably ice coming off the engines because it's where it is super cold. So about so around 8 minutes or so, it'll be approaching and landing on the barge. 8.5 minutes, somewhere in there. So you got 4 minutes, okay? Can you wait 4 minutes? Think you can do that? Okay. And then we gotta go. But anyway, check it out.
Een beetje erop, maar vervolgens kan ik dat is